Yo, what is up, guys? My name is Godsidus, and welcome to a quick little rant video, so to say. I know I personally haven't done YouTube in a while, but let's completely ignore that. The gameplay in the background is just me using an M4. It's a default gun on Phantom Forces. It requires rank 0. Just a little disclaimer, I'm well aware the gameplay in the background is nothing impressive. I think I had like a 3 KD at the end, which is nothing really that good. Um, but I just want to give my opinion on something that I've been seeing a lot lately, and it seems that not many people really understand all of it. So here we go. The first topic I have here, actually I have like a little notepad, is guns and, well, here, I'll just map these into two. Guns and gun power in general. The two topics that God, everybody likes to start a war and get the most annoyed about is gun power, which is basically the two arguments between the Scar series and the AUG series, let's be honest. So the argument that I'm seeing the most lately is the Scar SSR being like the Dragunov and just slightly less powerful compared to most guns, which is, yeah, I guess. But the thing people don't understand is that when it comes to a first person shooter game, it's not easy to make. Let me try to explain this. It's not easy to make something perfectly balanced. Like, okay, this isn't the best example, but let's use Counter-Strike. In Counter-Strike, there's the AK on the terrorist side and the M4A4 or the M4A1S on the counter-terrorist side. Me personally, I have over 1,000 hours in Counter-Strike. I'm nothing amazing. I'm actually kind of bad in community standards, but whatever. So the major argument that's been going on ever since like Counter-Strike Source or Counter-Strike 1.6, like 10 years ago, I'm pretty sure, is the balance between the AK and the M4. Now, Counter-Strike, one of the most let's say the most popular FPS, if I'm not mistaken. It's been played for over 10 years, it's very popular, and they still haven't satisfied everyone. So, the issue with it is the AK-47 is a one tap to the head, means one bullet to the head kills you. But the AK also has a terrible recoil pattern, and it's good if you're a one tap kind of person, but for spraying, it's a lot harder to control. While the M4s on the counter-terrorist side cost over 3,000 each, like 3,200, 3,100, I believe, and they don't one tap to the head if someone has head armor, and they also have an easier spray pattern. So it feels like you're kind of trading things off, but to go into a battle, and if you're both going for the one tap, the AK wins, which is pretty annoying. A lot of people don't like that. And when I take this over to Phantom Forces, you have guns like the AUG or the Scar. Some of them you get at a lower level, some you get at a higher level, which is kind of, not necessarily, but in the similarity of money. So with the Scar SSR, you get that at a higher level, I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% here, but it's a gun you get at like a higher rank, or like the higher level AUGs like the Para, the AUG A3 Para or whatever. A lot of people have been complaining about this because you get it at a higher rank, and it's something that people don't understand, that you can't perfectly balance. Nothing can be perfectly balanced on an FPS as much as everybody wishes. Like, just take Counter-Strike as an example. It's been out for over 10 years, and it's still not perfectly balanced. You can't satisfy anyone. Oh, excuse me, everyone. And I've been seeing this a lot on lately on the Phantom Forces subreddit, that people are just constantly harassing the developers over not satisfying them, or the majority. But the thing is, when there's a majority, there's a minority. When there's a minority, there's a majority. And you can't please everyone. So, the point, I'm reading a Reddit post right now, and I'm quoting from this guy. I'm not going to use a name, just as an example. The Scar SSR is really just a Dragunov without its own scope, less rate of fire, 2 less minimum damage, less accuracy, and more recoil. Which I guess is understandable, but the thing is, they made the gun so it's like a semi-auto kind of rifle, you know? You get it at a higher level, and yes, is it powerful? But you can also just use the Dragunov. I mean, what's the big issue here? I don't see why people complain about the two guns being similar when you could just use a Dragunov. And a lot of people also complain about the AUGs and the Scars in general, but let's be honest, they're powerful guns, and if you take everyone's skill into standards, you could just say that anyone could use any gun and be really good with it. I personally, I believe I'm an above average player. I don't have any like evidence upon that. I mean, I've live streamed. You can go look at gameplay there, but I'm not here to brag about how I'm good at a game. So I used the UMP for the longest time, and I think I have like a 3.8 KD, and I'm ranked 48, I believe, 47, 48. I have a 3.8 KD, and I used the UMP up to about level 35. Now you could say there's going to be someone out there who's going to say the UMP is overpowered, blah blah blah. But you could say that about every gun. I could have used the AUG and made more people annoyed compared to using UMP, which, yeah, you can complain about, but it doesn't really make sense too. So the main point I'm trying to make here, I know I've jumped around a lot, is that no gun can be perfectly balanced, and you can't please everyone. And I'm just constantly seeing the developers flamed and spammed for this when not many people understand. And the argument with them is, oh, try to please the minority. But the and then they also argue, that the minority consist of high-ranked players. When, if we're being honest, the minority really doesn't. The minority is mostly the new people below level 40 or so. It's kind of rare to see a bunch of high-level people out there really joining together to make a change. I mean, I'm sure it's happened. I haven't been in the Phantom Forces community forever, so it might have happened, and I could just be talking on my ass here, but the fact that I haven't really seen it, just in my personal experience, and this is what I'm going off of, this is just all opinion and personal experience, is that it hasn't really happened. And when you take the majority in, the majority is lower ranked players. And one of the arguments I also saw was that you need to please the higher ranked people who have put so much time into the game. And he's right, you kind of do, but you also are trying to attract new players. You don't want it to dwindle down to the point where you're not attracting any new players and there's just the same 1,000 people playing, so to say, just using a number as an example here. So my main point of just this topic is that you can't balance everything, and yelling at the developers won't accomplish anything, considering the fact that if you yourself aren't trying to get with the higher level people to bring some actual points to this topic, then you aren't really benefiting anyone. Alright, let me move on to the next topic before I just keep mumbling over here. The next topic I saw, these topics are going to be a lot shorter, is head glitching. Apparently that's also a very big issue. I kind of understand that, but I kind of don't, because people have pretty big heads in this game, and yeah, let's be honest, head glitching can be annoying, but head glitching is also annoying in every game, so complaining about it here isn't really going to do much. There's nothing you can really do about it. They're not going to make all, walls so small that you can't have proper cover. So complaining about head glitching is just, it's not really benefiting anything. Head glitching happens everywhere. Every single first-person, FPS game. It's going to happen. Complaining isn't going to do anything. And if that's really a reason for you quitting the game, that's kind of pathetic. On to the next topic, latency. Server latency is something that's argued over many games, and it's argued in the best of first-person shooters. For example, Call of Duty, there's something called host, if you have host, your shots are more accurate, or you kill people quicker, you see people quicker. Okay, that's understandable. But the thing is, let me go on with more examples. Counter-Strike, there's 64 tick servers, and there's 128 tick servers. On a 64-tick server, your shots are less likely to be 100% accurate, so to say, and then 128-tick, they're more likely to be accurate. Just generalizing, I'm not I'm not saying 100% facts here. That's just a very general statement that most people can understand. Now, with Phantom Forces, the topic I've seen argued on this guy's specific post is people are killing him when he's full HP with a gun that has like really low minimum damage. And I've seen people try to explain this in the comments, and they're kind of being ridiculed for it, is that there are server latency, and it doesn't matter about your connection, to be honest, because to put this into perspective, you have to connect to the server. And if I read this correctly, the servers are in California. So I live in New Jersey. So I have to connect from New Jersey to the server, and then the guy that's shooting at me has to connect from his location to the server, and the server has to communicate that data. Now, there's going to be latency there. That's a lot of stuff going on at once. So when you're dying instantly from guns like that, it's latency, and there's nothing that can be done about it. It would be way too expensive and almost impossible to pay for servers that would communicate that information so quickly. So for you to complain about that, it's understandable, but there's nothing that can truly be done. Every game has latency. No game is perfect. The only time it would be perfect is if you're on like a LAN, where LAN communicates everyone's information at similar speeds. I could be saying this incorrectly. Correct me if I am. But that's basically it, is that servers don't do it perfectly, and nothing can be perfect as much as we want to complain about it. And I've complained about it. I'm not going to lie. There are times where I'm like, oh, he killed me, and I felt like I got the first shot. It happens. But everybody complains about it, but we all need to sit down and recognize that nothing can be done. And for my last two topics, spawn trapping and maps, and they kind of communicate together. Spawn trapping is going to happen on most games. I mean, yes, you could switch spawns, but it's going to keep going. If you're a team of level 1s going against a team of level 100s all trying really hard, just using this as an example, you're going to get spawn trapped. It happens. It's not a search and destroy game. Like team deathmatch, you're going to get spawn trapped. If you can't kill the other people, you get spawn trapped. There's nothing that they can really do to benefit you like that. And this is, like I said, my personal opinion. I'm going to get a lot of people yelling at me for this, but there's nothing that they can really fix. And you kind of blame this on maps. Oh, a lot of maps are really open. When, yeah, you're right, but there's nothing they can really do. If they make all maps like really close quarters and tight corners, what is that going to do other than you complaining about more guns? And we're repeating a cycle here. If you have really close corners and things like that, it comes down to latency. You'll complain about latency. And then it'll come down to spawn trapping again, where you're going to complain about spawn trapping, which leads to maps. So it's creating a cycle that everybody's complaining and nobody's really doing anything to change. I mean, you could all sit here and complain, but the developers have to do what they think is best for the game. And unless you come there with real facts and evidence of this, and if you could bring a proper majority rather than a bunch of new people who have been playing for an hour to come against this, maybe something could happen. Like I said, I've not been in the community too much. I've only seen bits and pieces of developers interacting with the community. But nothing gets done with one person. The popular saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. You're not going to change the game just by sitting here complaining on a subreddit. You need facts, you need evidence, and you need to convince the developers this will benefit the game. So this is kind of my rant done, I guess. I just need to get this off my chest because I'm seeing it so much and the developers don't deserve to be hated like this. And the developer actually made a really good point. Let me find it real quick if I can. I'm going to go ahead. Sorry if you hear me like sniffling. I'm a little sick. I'm going to go ahead and quote Stylus Studios from the subreddit. And here he goes. He says, I get it. We suck at development. We suck at making games. We suck at trying to balance the game. We suck at trying to please everyone. We suck at listening to feedback. And the only thing we deserve is shit posts saying how we suck even more and that our game is to be trashed with the next FPS game, regardless of whether it has the same problems or not. You guys have shoved this into our faces, how much we suck already. Still doesn't seem enough. With regards to, I'm going to leave the game out just for privacy, upcoming project, well, Scriptons, I believe that's one of the developers, I'm not sure. I've read so many posts on the subreddit about it and mostly simply dropped towards shitting on Fan Forces because we suck at being the first FPS to reach a critical mass of players that any game coming out will be surely infinitely better. If I was professional at this point, I would point out many points about this project, but there's no point in the subreddit because I would just get shitted on even more from everyone for having bias when commenting on a competitor game. So basically what he's saying here is that he's heard it all. You guys complaining about the same things over and over and not doing anything to provide evidence and convince the developers that things would be better this way. It's not really doing anything. Me making this video is not going to do anything, but if I can convince a few people out there who constantly complain that they're not doing anything by just sitting here complaining over a subreddit, maybe something might happen. I can get hated for this. People might actually see this as a valid point, but it's just something for me to get off my chest because it doesn't seem like you guys are really getting it. And another quote here is that nothing in the subreddit will affect how we develop our games. We will continue to make games how we please and gather feedback from the general front page audience than an unforgiving, cancerous pocket of a subreddit. So again, complaining on this subreddit isn't going to benefit. You guys need real evidence, come at the developers in a professional manner, and not just shit on everything. If you're going to shit on something, give real reason and suggest how to make it better. If you're just complaining and not suggesting anything, you're not benefiting anyone. You're sitting here saying this is really bad and putting everything they do down, and your one voice isn't really going to matter. I mean, I'm sure they take it all into view, but if you're complaining constantly, they're just going to see you as someone who just should leave, really. If you're complaining about a game constantly and still playing, you're not really proving a point. For example, if half their audience that played the game left tomorrow, they'd be worried. They would see and do their best to look into something at why everybody left, but that's not going to happen because people will still continue to play the game and they're not going to lose half a fan base in a day. So I'm sorry if I repeated myself a bunch here. It's just kind of no planning and I was just kind of ranting about this, but I hope this makes some people understand that things aren't going to change with you just complaining on a subreddit and shitting on everything. You need real facts, you need evidence. And if one person out of anyone who views this actually understands this, you'll know that I'm coming from a logical point. I mean, these are my opinions. You could disagree with them. You have the right to. But like I said, if someone understands that this isn't benefiting anything, that's good. Maybe someone out there will make a real change. But yeah, thank you guys for listening to me. If you made it this far, feel free to roast me in the comments. Do what you gotta do. Everyone has an opinion, but I try to come at this logically, and hopefully you guys can understand where I'm coming from. So yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.